Welcome to Kaleidoscope. Let's talk. The early years of education are crucial, especially for children with developmental delays. Identifying these delays at an early stage can significantly benefit a child's educational outcomes and, of course, the overall quality of life. But does this happen in Sri Lanka? And is it possible to do? With me today is Educational Psychologist Nilu Perera, who has been working with children with developmental delays for decades, and she delves into the reasonings and importance of children being diagnosed early. Every child's development is not the same. And when you say early diagnosis, how early is early and how does that help?
When a child is born and when a child is growing up, every child doesn't grow up the same way. You can't compare. But there are certain developmental milestones that we have to be aware of, such as newborn, infancy, toddler, preschool and school stage. So there are certain expectations that we have according to those developmental stages. When a child is born, we have the regular checkups, we meet professionals, and then it's important to keep an eye on the development. But if also as early as few months old, we can also identify children who are not following the mother, children who are not interacting with the mother. So just keep an eye on those things. But actually at the age of like 1.5, 2, we can really see whether there is a developmental stage. It's really important to identify them at an early stage because early intervention is something that we believe in.
So, what are the signs a parent, a guardian, or any adult for that matter should actually look out for? And what are the developmental delays that we are looking at?
As a baby, maybe like I said, check for the interaction and whether she or he is following the mother, and the eye contact and responding to the name. Also certain things like whether the child likes to be isolated or socially interactive. And then when it comes to school stage, you can see whether the child can follow instructions and then finish up the work. And when it comes to like attention deficit or something like that, whether the child can finish the work on time and given task is completed and whether you're paying attention. Those are little things that you can just keep an eye on when they're developing. But then by observing, and if a child has a little bit of difficulty in school and with speech delay and social interaction, cognitive development, all those things together, we can identify a child as early as possible. That means we can develop the child to a great extent.
When a child is disruptive or naughty, as they put it, most often a teacher or even a parent, punishes them and puts them away and says, behave yourself. Where is there a balance? How do you know a child is naturally naughty or actually having a developmental delay or an excess?
I'm just going to talk about a school setting or an early childhood, like a Montessori preschool kind of a level, where there's a child who's very, like you said, disruptive or behavior difficulty, and then does not follow instruction and listen to certain things. We have to definitely find out why the child is like that. It's a common thing where those days we always say naughty child, lazy child, and doesn't listen, and then ignore the child or punish the child. That doesn't really work now because there are so many resources available, so many professionals are available to observe and identify the child. So it is important to find out why is the child disruptive. Maybe he has an attention difficulty. Maybe he has a communication difficulty. Maybe he has a social skill development difficulty where the child can't interact with the other children. As a result, he is disruptive in the classroom. Or maybe he can't cope with the work. He's developmentally delayed cognitively. So he can't cope with the work. We can't actually find great fault in the teachers and the caregivers and the educators in the classroom because they also have a syllabus to cover. They have certain things to finish and certain goals to meet. So they prefer them all working at the same level, and it doesn't happen. So when it doesn't happen, my thing is I always request them to please find out. Just inform the parents, get the parents to be aware of the child. Is the child the same way at home? That's where you begin to observe and identify little things where you can mark and then get professional help to get an assessment done.
Nilu, what about schools, kindergartens, preschools, Montessori's, nurseries, play schools, things like that, places like that? What signs should a teacher be looking for?
If a child is not playing with the other children and isolating him or herself, if the child is not following instructions, there's certain instructions as little as, do a puzzle or fix two things together. If the child cannot fix it, just watch. I mean, these things are not definitely developmental delay, but these are little clues that we are looking at. And if the child's speech is delayed, one of the main things is the speech delay, which is connected to many developmental delays. So check on those things and have a communication with the parents. Keep the educator, that is the Montessori teacher or a preschool teacher or a caregiver, need to always communicate with the parent if a child is not developing like the rest of them. So when the child finishes Montessori, they go to grade 1. So grade 1 is, in our system, it's a little harder work. So work is harder, communication is harder, everything he finds it harder in the school background. So that child is going to face more difficulties in grade 1 and so on, and it goes on. So when they go to grade 5, 6, 7, then there's more academic work. Then what happens is the child becomes isolated. So before that, I always say the primary educators need to identify as much as they can and then at least refer. Then beyond that, it's parents and others. It's a collaboration. It's not one person. They have to get together and do support the child.
So here's the danger with early diagnosis. If the child is diagnosed early, what about school admission? What happens then?
There are things we can do, but then easiest thing is not to admit the child into the school. That's the easiest thing that happens. You can help the child with a special education plan. There are we call it an IEP, individual education plan. You work with the child, assess the child, and have a plan for the child, and then work individually with the child. I know it's not easy, as I say, to work with a child individually in a classroom, but I think we'll have to give that chance to the child.
Nilu, what about social acceptance, both for the child and the family?
We've come a long way that people are aware, not only Colombo, I work with people from outskirts, outstation, but they also are very aware. But only thing, we have very limited resources, very limited access to therapy and, schools and also activities and even professionals. When you know that a family has a child with special needs, it's nice for somebody to pay a little attention to that family where there are other kids who are going to school, who are getting interrupted with their education. So it's really nice if you can be one person who's helping a child or the family with a child with special educational needs or special neurodevelopmental delay.
What are the challenges faced with early diagnosis, the accuracy of it?
It's the wait and see. I don't think you should wait and see. Okay, let's say the speech delay, right? It's a basic, like a very, very common thing, speech delay. A lot of parents have, a lot of grandparents have this thing. My son also was speech delayed, my daughter was also. It can be. The child will pick up and then the child will speak, all good. But what if it's something else which is related to some neurodevelopmental delay? So it's better to always go get a professional help and get the right assessment done. And then intervene and start the speech therapy or whatever you need, the occupation therapy or it's multidisciplinary therapy that we do together because it's not one thing. So it's always better to get help than wait and see.
Let's hope that at least one family, one child is helped with our discussion. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. Remember to subscribe, follow and like us for more.